So, are you guys enjoying the program?
Yes.
Alright, so thanks a lot for coming and supporting Seva Foundation. This money is being spent for some very good cause. And to explain a little bit more about Seva, I would like to invite Mr. Jack Blanks, who is here with us on the stage, who's the Executive Director for Seva Foundation. And he'll come and he'll talk about Seva and give you a glimpse into what Seva does. Please welcome Mr. Jack Blanks.
Thanks so much. Well, I want to start by saying thank you to Sandy and Anjali and all of the members of the Soor Saptak group. This is the third year they will be supporting what we do. And I'd love to give you a little background on what we do and actually talk especially about what we've been able to do with the funding that's been raised by you folks to provide eye surgery and care for Indian children. Can we start the slideshow? We're going to start with a little 30-second video. Whoops. Is to provide eye care for folks in developing nations who don't have access to eye care. And over the last 36 years, we have enabled 3.5 million surgeries to take place and have provided care for several tens of millions of people. We started in India way back 36 years ago. Our first partner was Aravind Eye Hospital. In fact, we started at the same time. Dr. Venkatswamy, who founded Aravind Eye Hospital, also helped found Seva in the United States. And so we have this partnership that goes way back, even though we work in 20 countries. Sure. So our work in India has been very special to us. Through Soor Saptak, we've been able to provide care for Indian children who normally would not have access to advanced surgery. And in my slide presentation, I actually have the numbers of kids who've been served over the last 2 years since we started raising funding. I can also give you an idea of what we've been able to do, not only in India, but around the world. Looks like we're there. Can we move to the next slide?
There was a girl who lost her sight. Because she lost her sight, she couldn't read or learn like the others. She couldn't work to help support her family. Her family became poor. Then Seva came and restored her sight. Now she can learn, she can work, she can see her future. Seva has helped over 3 million people see again.
So I wanted to start with that slide simply because as sad as it is for an adult to go blind, it's a real tragedy when a child is blind, especially if that blindness is preventable or curable. Next slide. Because they have their whole life ahead of them, and so you can imagine the impact on their community, their economy. They can go to school. Sure. Approached us and said we'd like to do something for kids. We thought that was really great because it is so important to try to find kids early and to provide that care early on because they have their entire life ahead of them. We can go from there. Yeah, we skipped ahead a little bit. Let me give you some general facts. Okay, good. There's 285 million people in the world who are blind or visually impaired. We'll go quickly through these. Oops. We're skipping through. So there's 285 million people who are blind in the world, but 80% of them could have their sight, good. 80% of them could have their sight restored or could have been prevented from being blind in the first place. Next slide. 90% of those people live in developing countries. And 75% of all the people who are blind or visually impaired only need 2 things. They either need some form of surgery that we know how to do. The image is not there, unfortunately, or they need a pair of glasses. Those 2 things. It's refractive error and surgery. And those are things we know how to do very well. It's a question of access and folks having the resources to come for those types of interventions. So 2/3 of the folks in the world who are blind are women. And that's another whole story, but it has a lot to do with culture, it has a lot to do with economic status and being able to be highly mobile or more mobile in the future. And there's 1.4 million children who are blind in the world today. That doesn't seem like much when you think there's 284 million people who are visually impaired and blind. But again, these kids, if we don't restore their sight when they're young, they'll be blind their whole life. They won't be able to go to school. They won't have the same level of productivity in the community. So it's very important. So, blindness in India. Let's skip ahead. Oops. Not sure why it's moving so quickly. Okay. Just so you'll know the context with India, India and China have the most blind people in the world, as you might imagine, because of the size of their population. In India, there's nearly 8 million blind people, 400,000 blind kids in India today. So Seva is a nonprofit based in Berkeley. We've been doing this work for 36 years now. Our mission is to prevent blindness and restore sight. And we provide care for about 1 million people a year. We do 100,000 surgeries, and we always do that in partnership with local organizations. Next slide. And we focus on the most vulnerable. I'm sorry the photos are not coming up, but we really look to try to provide care for folks who have the least ability to access it. And that's very often women, girls, children, and people in very needy communities. We always work with local institutions. We always try to build capacity so that we can leave something behind. The result is high-quality services. Not sure if we can get the images to come up or not. Yeah, why don't you go to the older version? That would be great. Very comprehensive approach. And how do we reach folks in need? We do it in many ways. We not only work in hospitals. We work with over 100 hospitals in India alone. But we also work through rural clinics, through school screening, and through eye camps where we do surgery in remote communities. Next slide. Just to give you an idea where Seva works, we're in about 20 countries worldwide at this point. Next slide. And in India, as I mentioned earlier, Aravind was our first partner, but today we work very closely with over 50, this slide is a little dated, over 50 partner hospitals. And as of 2014, this network has served over 5 million patients. And this gives you a little map. We have 4 primary partners, and each of those partners has multiple smaller hospitals under them, and we work through all of them. Now, the program that's been supported by Soor Saptak, interestingly enough, the hospital's in Nepal, but it's right on the border with Bihar. And 80% of the patients come over the border from India to get their care there. This hospital serves over 500,000 patients a year. And like I said, 80% are Indian. Dr. Arjun Mala is the pediatric ophthalmologist there. He's the guy who has performed most of the surgery on the kids that have been supported through the funds raised through Soor Saptak's events like this. This is we don't have to play this video if you want to skip it. Good. So let's go back a little bit. 2013 fundraiser raised over $6,000, and that created a fund which we call the Soor Saptak Children's Eye Fund at Lumbini. And then last year, another nearly $12,000. With those funds, already 244 children have had surgery. This is advanced surgery, very often for cataract, as you can see, congenital cataract, kids who are born blind, or kids with traumatic or developmental cataract. Those are kids who develop cataracts during the course of their life, and many other types of eye-related diseases like corneal ulcers and trauma and glaucoma, etc. 244 kids. We still have enough money in the fund to serve another 100 kids, so we have reserves, but that's being used as we speak. And then this is a picture of the group last year when they raised nearly $12,000. Next slide. So I want to show you a few of the kids, and we can go through these pretty quickly, just so that you'll get an idea. This is Chandra. He has, as you can see very clearly, a cataract in his right eye. It's that white milky disc in his eye. It's a traumatic cataract. He had an injury as a kid, got hit in the eye, and as a result, his God-given lens became milky white, opacified, and no longer could light come into the eye to the optic nerve. So here's the very next day. Within 18 hours, the patch is coming off. We're checking to make sure that the artificial lens implant that was put in his eye is working well, and it is. And as you can see, he's now probably has 20/20 vision in that eye. There's no reason why he shouldn't. Next slide. Same thing with Priyanka here. Now her eye looks a little swollen and red, but that's because she just had the surgery the day before. And this is the clinical shot that goes in her record. So you see her the day before, she has this very obvious cataract in her left eye. And then the next day we're checking to make sure that she can see well, she can. And the swelling and redness will go away within another 24 hours. Again, if they got the right diopter lens in her eye, lens implant, she will see 20/20. And she may have been blind in that eye since she was a little kid. Again, this is a developmental cataract, different type of cataract, just a shot. You can't see the cataract so well, but it is just the before and after shot of this youngster, 4 years old, Madhuri. Next slide. And just to let you know, we see a lot of congenital cataract. These are children who are born blind. Maybe the mom had measles, rubella. There's lots of reasons for that. But we can operate on children that young as well. And this child has just had a successful congenital cataract operation. Does not have a lens yet. When they get older, we can put the lens in. Same thing, 3 years old. And her eye's a little red, but that's just a little trauma from the surgery. That will go away. And again, an 8-year-old. We can go quickly. We can show you 244 of these, but and I put this one here. Again, her eye looks swollen and red, and that's because she's had muscle surgery because she has strabismus, what we call lazy eye sometimes. For a 16-year-old, can you imagine the difference when they go from having this sort of permanent drifting eye to having perfectly aligned vision? So just one more example. And we'll close with just a couple more shots. Again, mature cataract in the right eye. And Priya here, she had pseudophakia. She was operated on in India, but they didn't put a lens in her eye. So she can't focus. So she came to us and we put a lens in her eye at the hospital in Nepal. The reason we want to show the last few slides is we have a new idea for another project, and that project is actually in India. It's in a little community at a hospital that's located on an ashram that we've been working with for many years. It's the Vivekananda Mission Ashram Netra Nirame Niketan. We call them NNN for short. And here's a picture of the hospital. And we've been working with them since 2006. And they serve over 100,000 people a year. Next slide. They have 10 full-time eye doctors. You can see from the map they're located south of Kolkata. It's a beautiful little hospital, highly efficient, and they've just opened a second hospital. Next slide. In a place called Chandi, which is also to the south of Kolkata. It's a very beautiful building. Only half of it is open. They've designed it to be able to expand over time. This will give you an idea of what the building looks like. Again, it's, and we can go to the last slide. They do not have pediatric surgical services yet. They will. They have a pediatric surgeon and they have an anesthesiologist, but to do surgery on children, you have to put them under general anesthesia. Adults, you don't have to do that, but kids won't hold still, obviously. So they have to be put under. So they've asked us tonight to specifically see if, from the results of this evening and other fundraising, if we can help them to get an anesthesia machine. So the new project, we hope, will be in this beautiful little hospital south of Kolkata at Chandi. And that's it, except to say thank you, because we couldn't do it without all of you folks, and especially Sandy and Anjali and the group. You guys are great, and thanks so much. Sorry for the pictures.
Thank you, Mr. Blanks. That was very informative.